right, folks, here we go, taking a look at the news. We're going to start with some games. First, a very, very bright and colorful Atlantic Robot League, known as the ARL, from WizKids, where you're placing bets on mech fights. And I like that concept a lot. You know, it reminds me of older games like Colossal Arena and such, where you placed bets on different fights. Bets are hidden, and then I guess the mechs all fight. It actually sounds, from the description, it does sound like it's the exact same theme as Colossal Arena, but with different mechanisms on how they fight.
This is like BattleBots, the board game. I'm in.
I don't know that there's. Maybe I guess there is betting on BattleBots. I don't know. I'm sure there's betting on everything.
Betting on everything.
But I think BattleBots is more about seeing who wins,
sure, as
opposed to like a horse race, which is more about betting on who wins.
I'm a big fan of BattleBots, but so this is cool, and I liked Colossal Arena was a great game back in the day. Did it make the top 40, Z? No, I guess it did, but it's a good game.
No, it didn't.
Well, Colossal Arena came out in the 90s anyway. That would have been Titan the Arena, and I'm not sure when that came out.
Right.
All right, so we have Fiefdom. This is from Karma Games, and it's designed. One of the designers is Juma Al-Juju, he's a designer of Clans of Caledonia, which I know is very popular. And the art here is from the Miko, but I did not catch that when I first looked at the cover, which I think is cool. This is a slightly, I don't know. I don't know that I've ever seen the Miko draw like a cover that wasn't like someone's big face. No,
I could tell right away. I don't know. As soon as I looked at this, I knew it. So, but I guess what you're saying is there's fewer people on this cover, and it's usually his people that are very distinct.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's what I'm saying. I actually really like this cover. I like the crookedness of it, the jagged houses and things like that.
Yeah, the perspective on everything kind of being cartoon world is pretty neat. I like it. It's a great looking cover. Nice balance.
And you're trying to be a thief. You're trying to get in there and grab stuff and ignore those neutral characters like guards and citizens moving around the board. And this is actually going to be crowdfunded later this year. Nice. Then we have Precognition. This is from Ludonaut. It's a card drafting game about predicting a future world in order to save humans.
That's really creepy cover.
That bothers you looking at those?
That cover is really creepy. Yeah, I don't love it.
I like this
looking
cover.
Into your soul.
I can feel my soul being looked into. Yeah.
All right, so you're drafting and you're trying to predict. You get 2 cards in your hand and 2 cards in the decision zone of your player board. You're playing one of those 4 and then putting them back on the decision zone of the player to your left. I don't actually understand what that means. I'm going to have to see this one in action.
Mm-hmm. Ideally without the cover being there.
All right, folks. Enough of this non-mutant universe. Cyclops is coming to Marvel Champions. Now, we already knew the X-Men were coming and stuff, but this is a pack. I know a lot of people are excited. Cyclops, for some inexplicable reason, many people like him as a character. I think he's one of the worst X-Men characters. He's terrible. I don't like him. But he definitely is iconic.
Awesome.
What do you not like about Cyclops, Tom?
Well, first of all, I think his power is not particularly interesting since he has to be able to look at you to shoot you. Like, let's say I could shoot finger bolts out of my hands. I can stick it behind me and shoot it backwards and shoot one forwards. He has to turn and look.
Yeah, but he's got chameleon eyes, so he could look at different locations.
That's not how that works. Actually, I'm just kidding about that. The main thing is, in the comics, they turned him into a pretty extreme jerk as the years went by.
Oh, interesting. I never knew that. Yeah, he's kind of the leader of the mutants. I mean, like the on the field sort of leader, not Professor X.
He's a leader on the field and behind the scenes. No, he replaced Professor X.
Okay, well, keep it to yourself, nerd. Okay, let me talk a little bit. Yeah, this deck, I looked through the article that FFG had put out, and it sounds very interesting, some new ideas. He also seems to be a character very much targeted at multiplayer combat in the game. He is, again, sort of representing that idea of him being a leader. He will do things that will help everyone at the table. So I think this is the kind of character that will shine in multiplayer. Not to say he won't work solo, but be aware of that. That seems to be his focus. Pretty cool. I think it's a good sounding one.
Z, this is one of your favorite games, right?
Yeah, I really like Marvel Champions. I've been playing it a lot lately. Roy really loves it, but I very much enjoy it too.
I've never played actually, and I'd love to get a chance to play with you or Roy at
No.
At the convention. Okay. No, okay.
All
sorry.
right.
Sorry for creeping. Sorry for creeping on you.
Furnace Interbellum is a new expansion for the very popular game Furnace. This is the first expansion for it. Although it's interesting because I would have felt like Furnace is pretty much a complete game. So we'll have to see what this brings. It has new company cards, new capitalist special powers. That's all great. New abilities, variable disc for bidding. So you know what? I might be way off base. It might be fantastic. We'll see. Adds a fifth player. No one cares about that. But also solo games.
Furnace is great.
The general rule of thumb is if you need an expansion for another player, you don't need that other player. It's 99.9% accurate. The only exception is Cosmic Encounter.
That doesn't make any sense. You just if the game will not go on longer.
If the game worked with 5 would have been in the base box.
Yeah, but this is not an expansion only for 5. It's adding other stuff.
I know. That's why I'm saying the part about it adding a fifth player, who cares? The rest of it sounds great.
I like to play with lots of people because I'm a social guy, unlike you.
Next, we're at Galactic Renaissance. This is from Matago, although it doesn't particularly look like it's from Matago. This is a different style, I feel like, from their other games.
Yeah.
Did Matago change their logo?
I guess so. I've never seen this logo, so I'm guessing they did. It used to be the cat in the box, but now I guess it's this sort of M with the kitty cat in the middle.
It's a cat.
This is from the same designer as Inish, Christian Martinez. And I guess it's going to be another, big sprawling game, obviously now with a cool sci-fi theme with these strange characters on the cover. Yeah, Christian Martinez is a very interesting designer who thinks outside the box. So he designed
Inish. And I don't like the name of this game because it sounds, if I didn't know anything about this game, you said Galactic Renaissance, I'd be like, I'm pretty sure I played that 15 years ago. It's a very, very common-esque name.
I agree. It sounds like an old title, doesn't it? Yeah.
Is Inish really pronounced Inish, not Innis?
It's pronounced Inish, yeah.
Is it? Okay. I did not know that. I learn something from Tom every once in a while. Okay.
All right, our next game looks like it came out in 1985, but it's actually an upcoming game from Rio Grande game called Morgan's Magic Map. Unfortunately, Rio Grande's box covers, man, oh man, this might be a fantastic game. It's from a new designer. It won an Italian Design Award in 2018. There it was called Just Another Pirate Game, which I think is a hilarious name. So, Cap Morgan, you have to get these different pieces of a map, and you're trying to figure out the treasures. It all sounds good. Just that cover, it really looks like an old game.
It does. Sadly,
it does look old, but I don't dislike that cover personally. I mean, it does. But yes, it looks old. It looks like an old cover. Having said that, I wouldn't probably say, you should make this cover now, but ignoring that part, do I like the cover? I do like this cover. I think it's it's kind of charming. It's simple, it's charming, it's disarming of a cover. The other, for example, that Galactic whatever cover, I already forgot what it was called. It's a very arresting cover. It's almost like a little intimidating. This one looks super welcoming.
Well, speaking of covers that look new, though, the next one looks very new. Twisty Tracks.
Ooh, I really don't like that cover.
Really? I love this cover. Man, I like this cover a lot. I don't know. Jeffrey Allers has done some really good games. We just played one of his games on our 24-hour marathon, The Piece of Cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one here, there's a loop of train track, form depots, wooden trains moving around. I saw some pictures of the game somewhere, and I remember thinking, that looks a little fun, you know, as you're moving these trains around. There's a lot of train games out there, but this one looks cute. It looks like an app almost for like a phone or something.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll be neat. He's a good designer.
He seems to be saying it's significantly different and better than the original. So there was an original Twisty Tracks?
Yeah, it shows it up there in the top corner. It's from a Polish company there called, I can't pronounce it. But
yeah, it's pronounced Chevychek.
All right. Still from Rio Grande Games, they just announced Dominion Hinterlands, the second edition. So what they've been doing with Dominion, they released the Dominion second edition, then Intrigue second edition, and just like last week, Seaside second edition came out. They've announced Prosperity. What they do with these is they take out cards that aren't particularly as good or the meta, once people play with them for a while, and they add in other cards or upgrade cards. It's usually about 8 cards per set. Now, I think this was a cool idea. It's fun. I'm surprised they're doing it with expansions like Hinterlands, which is for the non-Dominion fanatic. At this point, you're like, did I play that one? You know what I mean? These Hinterlands is not like as well known as perhaps Intrigue. You know, as each expansion comes out, fewer people get them. That's just the general law of expansions.
Right.
What expansion is the big money expansion?
Prosperity.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. Did that one already get a second edition?
That one has it announced. It's not out yet. So this is the one after Prosperity. Although I did notice they skipped Alchemy, which I'm kind of bummed about because, but Alchemy could have used a big box second edition with more cards. You know what I mean? They could have made it a fully fleshed out expansion.
I guess so. Or they could just forget about it, you know, also. Alchemy was definitely the weakest one of those early ones. I mean, I dropped off that train a long time ago, but of the early ones, Alchemy seemed the most half-baked, right? I mean, it was half the size of the other ones, had a weird new currency. It just, it was a bit of a mess. Do you like these generally, the second edition arc they're going through, Tom? Are you a fan?
So far, I actually played the Seaside one this week, some of the new cards, and they got rid of some of the cards I didn't like from Seaside. There was some I forget the cards. I haven't sat it down and compared to the first one, but they added a few new cards, which are fun. Seaside's also one of my favorite expansions.
Me too. Yeah.
I was just glad to play Dominion again. I still love the game, so it's a lot of fun.
Okay. Cool.
All right, before we move on, folks, here's your 2 seconds of bacon. Okay, it was actually a second of bacon, but hey, any bacon is good for you. All right. Let's go now to Wingspan. A new expansion for Wingspan, surprising everyone, from Birds from Asia. At some point when they get to like the 6th expansion, I don't even know why they would announce it because they're doing all the continents.
Birds from Mars.
So they've done Europe. They've done, what was the second one? Oceania. Now they're doing Asia. I'm actually, Asia's cool. The one I'm really pumped about is South America because there's so many beautiful birds in South America. And anyhow, this one is a 3rd expansion. You can already get on the pre-order list, I think, something like that. It's a collection of cards themed around that. They're not talking about it a lot. They're just going to release a few birds at a time. So far, we've seen the Indian peafowl. So I'm sure we'll hear more about it. It'll be very popular. Wingspan has done considerably well. But I think we were talking to Elizabeth Hargrave this past Monday, and she says one of the questions that we asked her, people ask all the time for like made-up birds, mythological birds, but there's no plans for that currently, she said. There's enough trouble keeping up with all the birds in the world doing these other expansions.
Yeah.
All right, Clank Catacombs. So Clank, this is 2 pieces of news here. So first, there's a new standalone game for Clank. Clank has had lots of expansions. In fact, they just got the newest one this week. I'm excited about it with custom player decks and things. But Clank Catacombs is standalone. So it's the 4th standalone game in the series. We had Clank, the original one, then Clank in Space, and then Clank Legacy. Now we have Clank Catacombs. So this one, there's a skeleton. This one looks like it's going back to the original Clank theme. It's fantasy again, because it was fantasy space, and then I guess Legacy was also fantasy. Anyway, I'm interested in that. But the big news here is that the only logo on the cover is Dire Wolf. So Dire Wolf originally came up with the idea of Clank, but they had never made games before, so they partnered with Renegade, and Renegade brought Clank games out. And as time went by, Dire Wolf did a game on their own, which name is forgetting me, but then they did Dune Imperium, which it got them a big buzz. So they've now taken Clank back underneath them. And with the Clank and Dune Imperium, they have two pretty solid evergreen titles. So that's pretty good. And it's not probably great for Renegade, but from what I read, it doesn't seem like it was any kind of problem breakup here, just that Dire Wolf wants to do it on their own. They now understand the board game business, and so they'll be doing this. It
is an interesting business news that Renegade has lost the license, and that's an interesting contract that they were able, if they therefore were able to get it back. That contract was, well, not written enough in Renegade's favor, apparently. Interesting.
Speaking of the game, though, that cover is a fantastic cover. That is a gorgeous looking game. I'm not the biggest fan of Clank, but I would play this. I want to dig into that. That looks amazing.
Great. Those people, though, are being cavalier about the way they're carrying money.
I agree. But they're trying to survive with their lives.
There is that. It does not look like they're going to make it there. It's a very action cover, though, right?
Yeah.
I want to see the next sequence.
When you got 1,000 platinum, what's a few coppers here and there?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Capstone announced Capstone Plus streaming towards you. No, Capstone Plus is actually a subscription service that obviously they're watching how Stonemaier Games gets people to give them money for no reason at all. Capstone is doing the same thing. It's $20 a year for membership, and I'm kidding about the Stonemaier thing, but I'm still impressed that people pay to get a chance to get games earlier than other people. That's an impressive model. It works. But the Capstone thing, it's $20 a year, but it gives you 20% off everything on our website. You buy 2 games or even sometimes 1 game, and you're already done. You also get priority shipping. Retailers are not loving this idea, of course, but this is kind of where we're moving towards in the future. A lot of publishers are pushing towards direct-to-consumer. Stonemeier's already been pioneering that. Yes, stores can carry Stonemaier products, but you're probably better off just ordering straight from Stonemaier, and obviously Kickstarter, that's a whole bunch of its thing here. So I'm curious to see this. They have, Arc Nova, one of the hottest games out there right now, and then the redone version of Terra Mystica, Terra Nova. So I think that a lot of people are going to join Capstone Plus.
Yeah.
Origins Game Fair dropped their numbers. They released their numbers. It was 11,689 gamers. It's up 10% from last year, but still much lower than the 20,642 in 2019. I suspect that Gen Con will see a much bigger increase than Origins, but we'll have to wait and see. I talked to several of the retailers and people who are at Origins, and they all told me it felt fairly empty, and I guess that makes sense.
I was there. It felt like a very well-attended convention, but of course, it's about 60% of what it was in 2019. I think Origins can come back to be, in that pantheon of great conventions again. It's going to take a little longer, for them, because there's also the other big summer convention, the much, much, much bigger Gen Con. So people, when they first come back, they're going to go there first. And for those, by the way, who want to see some of the things that were going on at Origins, I just posted all of the interviews that I did for Origins TV. That's what I was doing there. I posted it on my YouTube channel, The Podfather of Gaming, and you can see like the 30 interviews with the smallest companies and the biggest companies. I had a great time doing that, so check it out if you want.
In the biggest news of the week, at least in my opinion, we saw that Keyforge is coming back. Now, this is really interesting. So first of all, Keyforge went out we talked about this last year because something happened with the algorithm that they could no longer make decks. Every Keyforge deck in the world is unique. They've sold over 2 million at least of these decks, or at least there's that many registered decks, and they probably sold even more of that. Half of them are here in the studio. And so they didn't give a lot of details on what happened, but so we'll probably never know, but something went wrong with it. Ghost Galaxy has now bought it because Fantasy Flight apparently is selling every proper they have except for Marvel Champions. It definitely feels that way. So Keyforge is bought by Ghost Galaxy. Now, Ghost Galaxy is owned by Christian Peterson. Christian Peterson is the former owner of Fantasy Flight Games and is actually the person who originally signed Keyforge from designer Richard Garfield. So it's like back home. And I've been assuming for years now that Christian Peterson was coming back to the board gaming arena. And this is one of the ways he's doing it. He owns a lot of companies, one of them here being Ghost Galaxy. Pretty cool logo, by the way. I like that GG logo.
Yeah,
very cool.
Very sharp.
So yeah, I mean, Chris Peterson is a force to be reckoned with. The guy's amazing. Now he owns Keyforge. He bought the printing company that they were using to print Keyforge. All this print on demand. I guess the entire facility where they were doing it. All this print on demand stuff that was producing the Keyforge decks. He bought the game store, right? Games, it was called the Fantasy Flight Game Center, and he bought that in Minneapolis, so he owns that. And the little known thing is he also owns a company that is used now by several of the larger publishers, but it can be used by other people, other industries as well, where it manages your consultants, your artists, and your writers. So if you've got like games that use lots and lots of external people, it manages them and manages the tasks. And he gave me a demo of it. It was very, very impressive. So, I told him he should retire, but he doesn't believe in retirement, apparently. He's also a lot younger than me. So it's pretty cool that he's coming back and doing this. Great guy.
There's more information on this on Dice Tower News. Always check out Dice Tower News, run by Corey Thompson. Does a great job getting all our news together. And Dice Tower Now, which is a podcast about that. He interviewed Christian Peterson a few months ago, although Christian couldn't say anything about this, but he hinted that something was coming. They have a website up where they talk about them rebuilding the algorithm, rebuilding the way to do this. They also have to rebuild the organized play system since the COVID kind of killed that. And they have to figure out a way to transfer all the registered decks from Asmodee to their own thing. So there's a lot of work involved in this, but I'm interested. I wonder how much we're going to be talking about Ghost Galaxy in a few years. Will they become a huge company and the new Fantasy Flight? Because I'll tell you who's not Fantasy Flight these days, Fantasy Flight. So that's the news.